So our topic this week is hidden gems in your Snap-on scan tool. So we're going to talk about the things that, well, one, you may not have realized were even there. Two, you may have known that they were there, but you forgot they were there, and maybe you don't use them anymore, or you had used them in the past. Or maybe three, maybe it is something that you use all the time. That's totally plausible as well. But those are kind of the three options I think is where we would fall. So we're going to talk through them. Now we're going to talk through them kind of as a wide net, and then we're going to narrow down by tool by tool by tool. So we're going to first start with the common features that are pretty much common across the board on all of our tools, any of our currently updatable tools. Let's put it that way. Even though some of them are still, even if they're not updatable, they still would have these functions. But that'll just make it easier to narrow it down, right? So the common features on those. The very first one that I'm going to talk about, and this is one that I think is certainly very useful, is going to be custom data list. So I can go through and take the 300, 400, 500 PIDs that are available on any given vehicle, and I can filter them down to just maybe two or three if that's all I care to look at. If I only need to look at two or three different PIDs to diagnose my problem, then that's where I can go, and I can go in there manually and set it up, right? So one thing that we have added in the last 3 years maybe is because we've been able to do custom data lists for decades, but being able to make a custom data list across PID lists. So, if you go into a vehicle and sometimes there could be 12 different lists of PIDs, and I would want to maybe take 3 from here and 2 from there and 1 from there. Before I couldn't do that, and now I can. So I'm able to go through, and I'm going to walk through how to do that in a minute. But you can see if I wanted to select the whole thing, or if I just wanted to select a couple different PIDs out of one, I could do so. Now, it's only on certain vehicles as long as that vehicle supports it. So here are the makes that support that currently, as far as we know. Could be more now, but I know GM doesn't support it, and that's just at GM's level. It's just that their computers just don't support that, unfortunately. But Acura, BMW, Chrysler, Dodge, Ford, Honda, Jeep, Lexus, Mazda, Mercedes, Nissan, Ram, Scion, Subaru, and Toyota all support this PIDs across list functionality, which would be very helpful. Now, if we go a little bit further into the presentation, we start talking about, say, FastTrack Intelligent Diagnostics. That does that automatically. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But this would be talking about doing it manually with this. Another thing that is data related, and like I said, works across any of our scan tools, is going to be PID triggers. So a PID trigger, the way I like to think of it, is a babysitter for your road test. I'm going to set a minimum and maximum value on a PID, whatever PID I choose. And if it ever goes outside of that minimum and maximum value that I've set, it will save and it will throw a flag and it will tell me where I have a problem. So in this case, this is a set trigger on a non-Windows based tool. So notice how they have like magenta lines and have a blue flag. That indicates that that PID is being monitored for these minimum and maximum values. And if it ever goes outside of that, it's going to record a little bit longer, and then it's going to set this flag right here. So the flag's going to turn red, which indicates, hey, I got a problem here. And then it'll also throw a line in there and say, all right, well, here's where your problem occurred. All right, there's where it went past that point. And then there's another gray line here, which shows here's where it saved it. And then it'll throw another line down all of the other PIDs to see, well, when this one went out, how did it affect those? So I can see cause and effect diagnosis with that. Now, once again, FastTrack Intelligent Diagnostic Smart Data is going to do this for me automatically, but this is the manual way to do it because I don't always have a code to go in on FastTrack Intelligent Diagnostics. So let's go through that live here real quick. Pull up my tool. There we go. All right, so here I have Apollo Plus up here. So we'll just go into the scanner, and I'm just going to load my demo Camry, because remember how GM doesn't cover this, but Toyota does. So I'm just going to put it here. And we will go into just the engine, I guess, and we will do data display. And I'm just going to pick the first category as engine data 1, just to get in there on some data. Let it go. And then we see there's all my data PIDs. There's a lot of data. And this is just that one data category too. So there are feasibly hundreds of PIDs available for this vehicle. So all I need to do the first part is go up to this check mark right here. So that check mark is going to allow us to get into that custom data list. So see how it also went through. It went through really quickly there, but it goes through all the different data lists and collects the PIDs that are available on there. So if I want to select the entire list, it's going to tell me how many are in there in this case. If I got it checked off, if I uncheck it, then we can see all the other ones are kind of unchecked too. Now, if I wanted to check just a couple, I can hit that little caret. And I can go, let's say I wanted to do like accelerator and throttle, and then maybe go into misfire data, and I want to look at maybe load, mass airflow, atmospheric pressure, sure. And then I can go into like monitor data and maybe look at vehicle speed and coolant temperature, and then maybe rough stall and start. Go in and pick a couple different ones there. Let's say I already did throttle sensor. So let's do like ISCs, right? I'll do some ISC stuff. There we go. So you'll notice that it's going to tell me that I've selected a few PIDs out of the few pieces of data there. So I got 2 there, 3 there, 2 there, 4 there. So if I hit the check mark here, it's going to bring me back. And now you see my list is considerably less because I've went down to just that list. If I wanted to add a few more, maybe in here, I can go into, let's say, I don't know, battery voltage. Sure, why not? Okay, and I can just add that. Oops. If you go in there, if you don't hit the check mark, it doesn't save it though. That is one important thing. Got to hit we'll do the AF lambda. There we go. Check mark. And now I should have AF lambda in there. There it is right there. Right. So we have this massive build across the list. I think there's like a limit of like 200 and something that you can do, but that's still considerably more than you probably would need. And also another side effect of this, a positive side effect, is that it will speed up data capture on the vehicle. Depends on the vehicle. At this point, we're pretty much to the point where data capture is just going to go at basically the speed of the vehicle, but it'll speed it up, help you out there. All right, so let's talk about PID triggers. So we see we have this AF lambda right here, and I want to set a trigger on this so it'll trigger when it goes up above the line and then below the line. So I have it highlighted right here, and then I'm just going to go up to this button, which looks like a line above a squiggly line. Click on that, and I'll click Set Triggers. So it's going to pull this up as a graph format. So I'm just going to pull that down a little bit more so it doesn't take too long. Hit Continue. And that'll set the top, and then the bottom we'll leave there. Hit continue again. That'll set the bottom. Now we see I have 2 gray lines. And then if I go into arm triggers, it's going to arm. So it's going to keep going a little bit until finally it's going to go above the line. I think on this next one is where it's going to go. Let's see. Going up. There we go. Went above the line. And notice how you might have heard the beep through my microphone. So it's going to beep. And then it's going to record a little bit more. And then once it gets to a certain point, certain number of frames after, it's going to save it like that. So it just saved it for us. So now I have a gray line and a red line. The red line is going to be where did it go out of spec. Also a red flag showing that it's out of spec. Or it went out of spec. Gray line is where it saved it. Green line is where it is according to all the other PIDs. So you see where it kind of lines up on all the other PIDs. Now this is not only useful for looking at just PID data on a road test, say. This would also be useful for if I'm going on a road test and I don't know what I'm looking for. I want to just capture the data. So nice thing is we're going to record all the data. But then what you would need to do is you could not say what you need to do. What you can do is then pick something that's a switch. So let's say cruise control switch, right? Turn the cruise on, turn the cruise off. So as long as you don't actually use the cruise control in the function of the road test, then you would be able to use that as like a master save button. So I can drive down the road and I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I would expect to have fail. So I'm just going to drive down the road until the car hiccups or bucks or whatever the customer is complaining about. Hit that cruise control button. It's going to turn on. As soon as the trigger sees that it turns on, it's going to save it right in that instant. So I'll be able to see everything that happened up until that point, at that point, and then after that point, it'll record some too. So pretty helpful when it comes to just taking that road test. A lot of people think, oh yeah, I'll just use it for the PID value, catch a dropout or something. But no, you can actually use it. If I don't know what I'm looking for, I could use it that way as well. So pretty helpful, I would say. All right, so that is PID trigger and custom data list. There we go. That's the other thing. All right, next functionality. Let's talk about our connected tools. So any of our tools that have Wi-Fi connectability. So anything basically newer than, say, a Modus Ultra, right? So Solus Edge, Modus Edge, on up through the range, through that Apollos and Triton, and everything else. What they have is access to what we call data services. So data services is anything that's available on our servers. So things like our SureTrack information, our FastTrack intelligent diagnostics information, our Snap-on cloud information. So in order to access any of that, you would need current software on the tool, and you also need a Wi-Fi connection. Now, for FastTrack intelligent diagnostic capable tools, you also need an active subscription or prepaid data plan, depending on your market. So in order to access that. So talking about our Snap-on Cloud service. So first thing, it starts with a pre-scan, right? We want to do a pre-scan on every single vehicle that comes in because it documents what needs to be repaired on the vehicle. So it gives us a nice, easy to read report, customer-friendly report that allows them to see, kind of an overview of what needs to be done to the vehicle, what the codes are in each separate module, and so on and so forth. The post scan then documents that the repair is complete. If I have all green check marks, then I know there are no codes back in that system. Also, like I said, automatically uploads to the Snap-on Cloud. Once it's there, once it's in the Snap-on Cloud, I can then share those pre and post scans with my customers. So I can share it on a phone, a tablet, laptop, desktop, PC, Mac, doesn't matter. As long as it has an internet browser, it will be able to access that information, and then you could share it with your customer. So say, you call up the customer and say, all right, we did a diagnosis on this. Here's what we found for codes, and here's the report. Send it to them. If you're in a body shop world and that's dealing with insurance companies, then you can email it to the insurance company or attach it to an estimate, what have you. So lots of capabilities with that, allowing you to upload to that Snap-on Cloud service. Next thing we're going to talk about is SureTrack. So SureTrack is our experience-based database that allows you to see the fastest way to find a problem, most often failed parts, and it provides real fixes the first time, every time. It is the fastest path to fix and is based on historical big data. So that's a lot of words there. So what does that all mean to me as a technician? Well, what we do is we take our data and we data mine it. So data mining, it would be processing these different repair orders. There's over 2.65, really over 2.7 billion repair events available now. And they're mined for the 3 C's, the complaint, cause, correction. What was the complaint? What did the customer complain about? What actually caused the problem? And then what corrected it at the end of the day. So it's based on real world, really fixed vehicles. So it enables you to get guidance and help when needed. And it is a Snap-on exclusive. We're the only ones with this amount of data, with this data available to you on the tool. So if we were to look at, say, this is off of Solus Plus, the SureTrack data is going to be the top repairs graph. So it's going to be based on a 200,000 mile stack of repairs, we'll say, on this code. What was the top repair at what mileage? And you can kind of base it on the mileage. So if I only had 75,000 miles on this vehicle, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. But if I had 125,000 miles on it, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see the difference in ranking. Now, it's not going to say, yeah, just go ahead and do that and you're going to be okay, because that's a really bad plan. But it's going to be giving me the first place to look. Right? It gives me my top 6 suspects. If I've done the first one, go to the next one, and so on and so forth. I also have the top real fix down here. So that's going to be laid out in complaint, cause, correction. How many times has that confirmed to fix the problem? And then we're also going to have additional real fixes here, ranked by how many times it confirmed to fix the problem. And then also some troubleshooter information too, which is going to give you like common problems, tech tips, code set criteria as well. And also with this I think is one of the most hidden gems that we may talk about tonight, because we don't talk about it very often. We should, but we don't. So another example is SureTrack on the web. So if you have a Snap-on scan tool with current software attached to your Snap-on cloud account, which would be your technician profile, which you need to do for security link and all those other things, you will gain access to SureTrack on the web. Now, all you got to do is go to shopkeypro.com, log in using your tech credentials, and then after you have done so, you will then get access to the top 10 lists right here. And then also you will get access to more real fixes or the real fix content that's there, top repairs, causes and fixes, and tips, all available for whatever you plug into the search box. So it's more than just codes. It can be symptoms too. So you can look up and get that information availability to you. You just need to go to ShopKey Pro, log in with your technician credentials, and then it'll bring you there. Also with that, you get access to the SureTrack community. So this is a forum, so to say, of folks like you who use Snap-on equipment, Snap-on scan tools, and so on. And they can ask questions. You can ask questions. They can give you answers. You can give answers. So we take some of these and we turn them into articles after a time. But we go through the best answer from the community member. You may want to perform a voltage drop on both battery cables. Sometimes internal corrosion cannot be seen when tested. Found resistance to be high. Truck will not start intermittently was the problem, and here's everything that was done. And then perform the voltage drop test. Found both have high resistance, indicating corrosion issue. Place the battery cables, clean the terminals, and now the truck starts. All right, so it's that type of information that's available to you with that as well. So with that, let us go live. I'm going to switch my tool up here real quick too, I think. Where is it? Thought I had it right here. Guess I don't. All right. I guess we'll do it on the Apollo. I was going to put it on my Solus and then show you the difference, but I can't see my Solus Plus right now. I thought it was around here somewhere, but oh well. All right, so in order to do this, we would of course go into Scanner, and I'll just load up my my demo vehicle here. And like we said, it starts with a pre-scan, so we'll do a code scan here. It's going to load through. Save to the cloud. Now, of course, it gives us our status, right? So I can click on the yellow icon indicates there's codes. The green icon indicates there's no codes. And then if we come down the bottom here, it's also going to give us our readiness monitors, our OBD2 mode 3 and OBD2 mode 10 codes. And then down here, this indicates that they're not complete. So another thing that we can do from this code scan page that I'm not sure if you're aware of, see that word engine? I can just tap on that, and that is going to bring me into the top of my engine. I can back up. I can go into my analog brakes, do that. There I go. I'm in my analog brakes menu, and so on and so forth. So I can access it right from the scan. I don't have to leave the scan. I don't have to go back to my main menu and try and find that module on the vehicle menu. I can just do it from here. So that's a good time saver. I tap on the code. If this was a Solus Plus, we would have this top repairs graph. We would not have the bulletins. We would not have the smart data. We would not have the functional tests. I clicked on it by accident, so you got to wait a second. I'll show you that later. So I would have the SureTrack information and the number one real fix there. Like I said, additional real fixes down the bottom, ranked from most to least. And then, if available, troubleshooter. On this particular demo vehicle, it doesn't have troubleshooter information. So I'd have the SureTrack information on the bottom and the SureTrack information on the top. Also, If I open my browser, like I said, it's down here, and then log in with your technician credentials. This works today. Yes, it does. All right, good. All right, so I'm just going to pull up my vehicle. The Vinner plate stuff works. Oh, put in too many letters. There you go. Vinner plate works. Okay, comes in. Notice how all the quick lookups are grayed out, but I still have access to my commonly replaced components, common codes, common symptoms, common lookups. I keep hitting things by accident. So these are the top things that have been plugged in here to look up. And then these are the common symptoms based on the repair orders. 195,709 repair orders in this case on this year make model engine. So pads, rotors, battery, wheels, calipers, spark plugs, headlight bulbs. Yeah, headlight bulbs. They definitely burn out a headlight bulb. And then so on and so forth down here. Here is all of the top codes. So let's say I went into this top code. And I just go over here. I'm going to see I have real fixes, top repairs, causes and fixes, and tips. Now, causes and fixes, this ProView thing, this is pretty cool. And we don't talk about this very much either for some reason. But this is based on codes or code combination. So for a 171, it could be all of these. For these three codes, well, it narrows it down to the oxygen sensor. This code, oxygen sensor. These three codes, oxygen sensor again. These two codes, oxygen sensor. So it looks like all roads lead to oxygen sensor if I'm not lean, right? But that can be used to help if you do have a code combination. If I had these three codes in the vehicle, the most likely suspect is going to be that oxygen sensor. That'd be the first place I'd go to look. Now, I wouldn't just replace it. I would check it. I would test it. But that's a pretty quick shortcut. So I don't have to mess around looking at my mass airflow sensor or my PCV hose or my throttle body or any of that stuff. I'm just going to go straight to the oxygen sensor to start because that's the common thread across all of these, right? And of course, every code would be a little bit different, but just think about that. How much time that could save. So you would have access to this as well. Like I said, all you need is an up-to-date Snap-on scan tool linked to your technician account, and then go to ShopKey Pro and log in your technician account, and then you would have access to this. That's anybody. Anybody has access to that. So that's pretty cool as well. All the more reason to keep your tool up to date because you get that until it goes out of date. All right. Next thing. This is going to be service resets and relearns. So this is available on any of our intelligent diagnostic tools. So the Zeus line, the Apollo line, and the Triton line, as well as the Veris Edge, and only the Veris Edge, not the Veris Pro. So it's available to those product lines. And what this does is in here, it'll be the third button down, and it will give you a link to things by job. So let's say that, I go in here and I did a certain job on a vehicle, and let's say I replaced the oxygen sensor, for example, on this Tahoe, right? So anytime you replace an oxygen sensor on an 06 and newer GM, you need to reset the resistance compensating heater circuit. I've talked about it many times. I'm not going to go into the whole story here, but you do need to reset it and relearn it. So since it's by job, well, I replaced the oxygen sensor. So let's go in there and see if there's anything that I might need to do. That's the whole kind of premise of that, right? If I have done XYZ job, what do I need to do? What are some functional tests that may be related to it as well? So you go in here, it gives you the top repairs graph, it gives you your TSBs, bulletins. These are functional tests for the different heaters, bidirectional controls. And then down here would be the heater learn in this case. So let's say I need to do that heater learn. So we'll go into the heater learn and it would bring us through that, right? We would go through, it's a simple procedure. You just click reset on the screen and then it resets it. I didn't capture screenshots on that one, I guess, but let's go back on the tool and take a look at that. So this time I'll go on my Zeus. Okay. So we'll load in here and we'll pull up my Tahoe. Now, also on this Tahoe, and that happens every time. First time I go in the simulator, it doesn't log. There we go. Service resets. Also on this Tahoe and many GM vehicles, did you know that on the brake pedal position sensor, when you replace that, it's not a brake light switch, it's a pedal position sensor. On the brake pedal position sensor, you have to go in and you need to relearn it in the engine control module and in the body control module. If you don't do it in both, it'll set a code. So I could do this. I could go in under, let's say, engine. First off, I need to know that I needed to do this. Second off, I need to know where it is. So it's a functional test. So let's see. Is it any? No, it's none of those. Is it a module setup? No, not in there. Is it an output controls? Let's see. Oh, there it is right there. BPP sensor alarm. All right. So I go in there and I'd hit learn and it learns it. That's how quick it is. It just relearns its position based on 0. Then I'd have to back out. I have to go into body with a body control module. It's a functional test. Is it a special function? Nope, guess not. Must be an output control again. And there's my brake pedal position sensor learn there. At least it's in alphabetical order. Go in there, hit continue, hit learn, and it learns, right? Once I know where it is, and once I know that I needed to do that, and once I went into both modules, I can do that. And it's 30 seconds, maybe, probably a little bit longer in the real world, especially if I didn't know where to look. But if I go into service resets, I can go down here to brakes, and I can go, well, I replaced the brake pedal position sensor. So if I go in here, go into functional resets, there's the one in the engine, there's the one in the body. So it's going to save me a ton of clicks. Go into engine, learn, done. Body, continue, learn, done. That quick, right? It's all about saving you time with that, right? And there's thousands of these in there, tens of thousands of these in there. I forget the number, but they tell me every time we do a software update. But there are tens of thousands of these resets and relearns in the tool readily available. Now, in order to have this available to you, current software, if you're on an intelligent diagnostic tool, it needs to have a current subscription or data plan, and you need to be hooked up to Wi-Fi in order for that to work, because it comes off of the data services. Then we have another exclusive, which we're seeing. Remember how I said we're going to kind of filter down these tools. So FastTrack intelligent diagnostic tools now are going to have, of course, FastTrack intelligent diagnostics. It's our unique exclusive feature that links problems to solutions, enabling you to complete the repair quickly and confidently. Shows you everything you need and nothing you don't when it comes to diagnostic information. It's going to give you filtered SureTrack information, filtered real fixes, filtered TSBs, filtered smart data, filtered specific functional tests, filtered specialized resets, filtered guided component testing, and custom test meters as well. All just specific to that vehicle year, make, model, engine, and the code that we're working on at the time. And it's only related to the problem being solved all on one screen. So how does it do that? Well, once again, it takes those billions of repair events that we have. It takes over 365 billion data points. We also have the broadest vehicle and sensor connectivity in the market because of the guided component test function. And we have the most comprehensive OEM technical library due to owning Mitchell. So we have all this information. We take it by the vehicle, by the code, filter it down, and only show you the relevant information, gets rid of all the other stuff, right? This is kind of what other scan tool makers are trying to do with their AI that they're talking about. Right? We've been doing this since well before 2017, but we released it in 2017, right? And it's only been getting more and more and more as we go. So quite the head start. If you have one of these tools, you have quite the head start with all that information in there. I like to think of it as a nice filter or funnel. It's going to take all the information on the vehicle and it's going to filter out down to just what we need. So this vehicle has 28 control modules, 2,470 possible codes. If we put it through FastTrack Intelligent Diagnostics, well, I only look at one code at a time. TSB 654 down to 1. Data PIDs 2,300 down to 11. 482 functional tests down to 6. 395 component tests down to 10. 1,228 real fix tips down to 2. Right? That's the only relevant information I care about. I don't care about all this other stuff over here. I care about what pertains to that code, right? And it takes it And if you remember that page we looked at before, it expands upon that, right? So it gives us all this information right on the screen. So we have our top repairs graph, our TSBs, PIDs, functional tests, component tests, SureTrack content, all specific to the vehicle, and the code specific to the one simple touch of the code, right? So let's walk through that. I will tell you this class is a little bit longer than the other ones I do just because there's so much stuff to cover, and I still don't scratch the surface on this. Should do a part 2, maybe. Maybe next year, right? So this is going to look very much the same as the Apollo because it is basically the same as the Apollo. Software is going to be pretty much the same. I'm going to select diagnose, and it's going to bring me that information. So one other thing with FastTrack Intelligent Diagnostics we haven't talked about yet is this little button right here. This little guy, if I tap on that, it's going to list all the codes I got in that code scan. So it could be 20, 30 codes, depending on how messed up the car is. If I select a different code, it's going to refresh the information, brings it back, and reloads. So I can do this. I can do this. It's going to bring me back, and it's just going to reload. I don't have to leave this screen. Next one's going to be TSBs. So once again, only relevant to the problem at hand. In this case, it's on a spark plug wire. Little C-clip might go missing. Could cause a misfire. Next thing's going to be the top repairs graph. So that's taking that SureTrack information and adding it in here. So we have our top 6 list. Next one's going to be smart data. So this is our filtered smart data. So remember way back at the beginning, about half an hour ago or so, I talked about building a custom data list and doing PID triggers, right? And how long did it take me to set them all up just on one PID? I would need to know what PIDs I'm looking at, and I would need to know what the positive and minimum and maximum are on those PIDs. Well, based on our data set, the tool knows. So see all these PID triggers, and there we go. One just triggered right there, turn red. It did a custom data list automatically, and it set PID triggers automatically. So if I go up to custom data list, just to show you, all the stuff in black is stuff that's selected. All the stuff in white is not selected. So it's maybe a little more than half the list is selected, but it pertains to a misfire, right? Tool did that automatically. Tool also set these PID triggers automatically. In order to set a PID trigger, it's going to take me 20, 30 seconds a piece to set those up. And I need to know what the values are. So this tool set it up for me automatically with just one click. That is the beauty of smart data, is being able to have that. Now I can go down here on the Zeus Plus. We also have this flag tracker, Clearview flag tracker. If I tap on that flag, it's going to bring me to where it flagged, and it's going to open the pertaining graphs that did flag at that time. You can see that. That is pretty helpful as well. And it saves it automatically, just like on the other tools. Same thing with functional resets. What functional resets might I need to do in order to solve this problem? So I might need to do a reset, crank variation learn after the fact, might need to do a compression test, might need to do bidirectional controls on my injectors, and so on. I come down here, we're going to go into guided component test meter. Now, I'm not going to go too far in here because that's the next thing I'm going to talk about, but it filters it down. What components might I need to test in order to diagnose this PL300? So crank sensor, cam sensor, ECM itself, different ignition tests, all available. And then down the bottom brings back our SureTrack information again. So there's my complaint cause correction, number 1 real fix, additional real fix information, troubleshooter information. And then if I'm on a Zeus Plus, I also have a link to ShopKey. So it's going to log me into ShopKey, log the vehicle into ShopKey, and do a search for that code. Pop in here. So if you have ShopKey or Mitchell ProDemand, it's going to allow you to come in here. And notice how it did a search for the code, and now here I am on my landing page with all the cards readily available. If I wanted a wiring diagram, for example, I could go in here, pull up my wiring diagram. It brings me out on the right page where the ignition coils live. Also lights up the wires hooked up to those ignition coils. I can dim the other wires. I can do all sorts of different things. And remember, this is all on the Zeus. Never had to leave the tool, never had to leave the driver's seat, so to say, in order to look at this information, right? So that's pretty powerful right there, I think. All right. So that is Intelligent Diagnostics. And then lastly, last and certainly not least, any of our scope-enabled tools. So if you have a Snap-on scan tool with a lab scope, meter, guided component test meter, you're going to have guided component tests available on the tool. So the scanner, as you may know, if you've watched any of my classes before, the scanner is a really nice compass. It's going to point you in the right direction. Guided component tests, however, are going to show us what caused the problem. That's going to help pinpoint the actual issue. In the tool, there are over 7.3 million guided component tests available, and there are also 65 different categories of class available in the tool. In the guided component test itself, it's going to show me how to hook it up, where to hook it up, and what it should look like on the screen, what a known good is. I get people asking all the time, what's a known good on this? What's a known good on that? We have that data information in the tool. There's an example of a known good, right? So here's a known good on this. Here's what it looks like on the screen. Do they match? Yes or no? Very simple, very straightforward. All right. So let's go live on that. Pull my Zeus back up. All right. So I could do filtered guided component tests, but I've decided against that. I'm actually going to go in and pull up my BMW. But before I do that, on the tool, before you go and ID a vehicle, there are classes available. So if I go to classes, there's power user tests, features and benefits, and how to. Power user tests are going to be some kind of generalized, not vehicle specific tests like current probe tests, dual channel tests, secondary ignition tests, pressure transducer tests. So they're kind of generally set up. They're not going to be vehicle specific. If you want a vehicle specific test, ID a vehicle. Features and benefits gives you like a 5-minute walkthrough, list of accessories, product descriptions. And then if I go into how to, that's where the bulk of the information is. So you can see I get all these different classes available in here. So if I wanted to do, say, a voltage drop, introduction, headlight circuit example, starting circuit example, charging circuit, it'll tell me where to measure and see what the voltage drop is. It's going to walk you through all that stuff. If you ever needed to learn that, it's all readily available in the tool. It's like magic. Amazing. Once I back out of that, it's going to give me my vehicle makes that we have information on the test. So in this case, I have a BMW, so I'm going to hook up to that. 2012, 328i, M52KP. Once I load into a vehicle, it's going to give me a list of systems that I can test. So in this case, I have 5 different systems, could be up to 12, depending on the vehicle and the type of information we have. So in this case, I want to go to engine. Once I load in there, it's going to give me a list of components or subsystems. Could be like fuel system or evap system, right? In this case, I want to test a cam sensor. And then in this case, exhaust. And then it'll list out, okay, component information is going to be the first thing we got. So we'll go to component information. It's going to tell me how it works. It's a Hall effect type sensor in this case. Both cam sensors use a 3-wire Hall effect switch, 2 cam sensors. One is the intake, one's for exhaust. Come over here, it's going to give me the connector view. It's going to tell me what each wire on that connector does. If there's an alternative place to test it, it's going to say, here's what that looks like. And then if I scroll down to the bottom, it might even give me some notes. Let's see. It'll tell me where it's located and where the best place to test it is. I back up. Everything else is a test. In this case, I want to look at a signature test because if I find a signature test, that's usually where I'm going to go. Because you can tell a lot about how a component works by looking at the signature. So it's going to tell you where to hook the test leads, yellow to cam signal, which would be number 1, back probe at number 1. Notice how it says back probing at the component on the harness side, and black to a known good ground. I don't want to go to the sensor ground because that could be the problem. So I want to go to a known good ground like the battery or the engine block. Hit view meter. It's going to do a little clicking and buzzing. It's going to automatically set the voltage range where it needs to be, automatically set the time base where it needs to be. I can scroll down a little bit and it's going to show me what I'm seeing of that component on the screen and see if they match. Do they match? Looks pretty darn close to me. So it looks like we're in business there. Now, in this particular case, too, it doesn't happen all the time. We're always going to have a known good, but sometimes we have a known bad. So in this case, we found a vehicle that had a bad one, and we plugged in, we captured it, and there we go. So we got a known bad one on the screen, too. I think that's pretty cool. Not on every vehicle, but in this case, we had it available on the vehicle. Also on this, one last thing I want to talk about here. So let's see, 2023 Dodge Charger, I think it is. The 3.6 gas, I think. We'll find out in a second. Let's see. It was the oil. Maybe it is. Yeah, okay. So we have enhanced connection diagrams now too, because a lot of people ask, well, where do I hook it up onto the tool? It's great you tell me where it hooks up onto the car, where to hook it up on the tool. So we'll show you here. So yellow and black scope leads, and there's a no good ground there, and there's where we back probe it there. That's going to give you all that available information to do. Also, some vehicles have component images because these tests are built by real life people. So they have cameras, so they can just go out and take pictures of the car. So we started that project a couple years ago, where it's going to show you exactly where it is under the hood and then show you a close-up of the component. I don't have one off the top of my head, so I can't show you, but I've shown them in some other videos. With that, that is your hidden gems. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about next week. Next week, we are continuing our OEM-specific training on Volvo this time. So this is our last European make for the year. So we're going to talk about unique things about it, the history, some weird things that it might run into when you're trying to work on them. So same time as always, every Tuesday, 6 and 9 Eastern. Go to snapon.com/OT if you want to join on Zoom. Otherwise, the 6 p.m. class goes to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SnapOnDiagnostics. Make sure you like and subscribe, please. It really helps out with the algorithm that we all have to fight with. Also, if you want to see any of the other classes in this series, anywhere from ADOS through EVAP and everything in between, there are over 100 courses available for you at your leisure on the YouTube channel. So if you subscribe or if you click on that QR code, it will automatically bring you to the channel and subscribe you automatically, and allows you to just watch them at your leisure for free, all 30, 40 minutes long, depending on the subject matter. So definitely worth your time. Free diagnostic training for everybody. Great thing. Also, do we have your email address? If we don't have your email address, you may be missing out on some great information, technical focus articles, SureTrack blogs, quick tips, new product release announcements. They also send out my training schedule monthly or quarterly, probably monthly. You're only going to get a couple a month at most, maybe one a week if something really big's going on. But here's an example over here of an article. This is a timing chain, diagnosing a stretch timing chain. So if you scan this QR code, you can enter in your email address, and then you can start getting these useful emails when we send them out. Also want to make sure I mention my buddy Keith Ray, who does free diagnostic training as well on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So on Wednesday, it's on Zeus Plus. Thursday, it's on Apollo and Training Tools, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, 4:30 Pacific. These are Zoom-only classes. They're kind of designed to have your tool in front of you and function through the tool as he's doing stuff on his screen. So he's been with us over 30 years. Definitely worth your time and effort. First hour is going to be scanner stuff, set up your Wi-Fi, talk about Snap-on Cloud, talk about Security Link, and so on. Takes you through code to completion on FastTrack Intelligent Diagnostics. After that first hour, it takes about a 5-minute break, comes back, and he talks all about the scope and meter functions on the respective tools as well. So very thorough class, about hour and 40 minutes, hour and 45 minutes, depending on the day. But definitely check that out if you want to learn more about your tool. All right. Lastly, we got questions. Looks like we got a few going on YouTube. Also got one on the Zoom. If you do have a question on Zoom, find that Q&A button, type it in, and we will we'll chat. So Jay McCall is just saying hi. So you're very welcome. Glad you could attend the class. Thanks for attending. Thank you for attending. And then if we go over to the YouTubes, Matt Everly says, thanks for all the classes. Thank you, Matt, for attending as always. Let's see. Nick is checking in, saying hi at 11 o'clock at night from England. Matt Eberly, you guys, Pass-Through Assistant is a great tool. It's able to reprogram a rear differential on an Equinox after replacement, and the nearby dealership is 40 miles away. That is a wonderful use case for that. I'm glad we were able to help you out on that. Craig said, where would I find the values to compare? So I think he put that up when we were talking about PID triggers. Unfortunately, many manufacturers don't publish that. Some do. Some don't. Another way you could look at it is if you have the guided component tests, you can go in there, find the component, and see what the value is supposed to be. What's a normal voltage supposed to be, for example? And then you could use that as a guide, I would say. Far from that, like I said, going to be kind of hard to find. Manufacturers do publish them sometimes, but it's not all the time. So that's your best bet service information, and then also the guided component test of the components in there. That'd be a good place to go. Matt Everly said 2 months ago, bought a Snap-on NT2500 graphing scanner to work on a 98 Silverado pickup. Perfect. And I bet you it powered right up and still works. Some fresh batteries and good to go. Hussein had I always get his last name wrong. I'm not even going to try. So Hussein says, thank you. Thank you very much for all of your years of support there, sir. Jay Carrero says, thumbs up. Thank you. Thumbs up to you. Thank you for watching. Anthony Nofi says, great session tonight. Is the scan tool service resets and relearns bar grayed out if the tool is not online? Yes, 100% it is. That is an online feature. So that map. So what they do, if you think about the background of things, the software programmers, they take the resets and relearns that are available on the tool and they map them to a job. So the job list is pretty much the same car to car. Maybe might be some uniqueness between brands, but by and large, they're pretty much the same list. And then they map those to the vehicle. So they're able to do those on the server so they can update those whenever they need to. They don't have to wait for a software bundle update to do it. So they can just update those maps. So yeah, those maps are on the cloud. So you have to be connected to the cloud with active software credentials in order to do that. Let's see. Craig English says, thank you. Juan Perez, how can I obtain a replacement of the VCI connector? Lost it for a Zeus. So you would want to call our customer care line. So that is 1-800 if you're in the US. If you're not in the US, you'd have to look online to find the phone number. I don't know those off the top of my head. But if you're in the North America, not just US, Canada too. US and Canada, I have to say, because we have stuff in Mexico. It's a different place too. For US and Canada, if you're in US and Canada, it is going to be 1-800-424-7226. That's 1-800-424-7226. Give them a ring, and they will be able to get you a replacement. If you don't have a franchisee, you can just go through a franchisee too. I think they're like $800-900 for that, so not something you want to lose very often. But you would be able to get a replacement through there. So yeah, hope that answered your question. With that, I think that clears the board. So I would like to say thank you. Thank you very much for spending a little bit of time with me. Hopefully you learned a few new tips and tricks to use with your Snap-on scan tool. Maybe you can use it tomorrow at work. Maybe you're not working tomorrow at work. I don't know. In the U.S., it is Thanksgiving this week. So hopefully if you are in the U.S., you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a nice night and take care.